Hello.
Hello. Sorry, I've never actually been on like Instagram Live before
Really?
myself. So I was like, yeah. So I was just like, oh my gosh, like, how do I like join or whatever?
Yeah, it makes sense. Wow.
How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
I'm
Today,
good.
I'm getting there. What
Yeah,
about you?
no, I'm good. I'm good. Just busy adult life has come.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So obviously, I just did like a little bit of an introduction about how you're a journalist, but I wouldn't even call you. When I think of a journalist, I think of like someone who writes in newspapers, which obviously you do that as well. But I feel like you're a okay, you're just more intentional than other journalists because you don't
Oh,
really do the gossip blogs and all of that stuff. Your work is something that I can actually tune into and pay attention to.
yeah.
Um, that's actually informative for me and sometimes healing, sometimes inspiring, and things like that. So tell me how you got into journalism and how you knew that it was for you.
Yeah, so I've studied media since like GCSE times. I've always enjoyed media. Like weirdly, when I was younger, like I enjoyed like during English lessons writing newspaper articles, like when we did that side of English. And like I always knew like media was kind of my thing, but I also did like business as well during like GCSEs and obviously business, economics, there's so much money in there. So I was just kind of like, yeah, it's between studying economics at uni or doing like an apprenticeship in like media. Obviously I chose the uni route and I did economics and then after a year I was like, no, like this is not for me.
You know what's so
No,
funny? I didn't
really.
come economics for again and I yeah.
Yeah. No, I said, sorry, not for me. Let me just stick to what I know, stick to what I'm good at. And then I remember like during one of my parents' evenings as well, like my media teacher gave advice of like if you want to study media, like doing just a general media course is like good if you want to be like a teacher, but it's nice to do something like more niche. And I always knew kind of like I liked storytelling, like when it came to like magazines and things like that. So I was just like, okay. When I realized economics wasn't for me, I was like, cool, let me switch to journalism. So I
Yeah.
did that and I really enjoyed it. And weirdly, I was better at it than I thought I was. Like I didn't think I was as good, but then it was just like feedback from other people and stuff was always encouraging. And like the experience that I got, like when people would reach out to me, kind of ask me to do stories or just ask me about my work, I was like, oh, like I'm actually good at this. So yeah, that's how I got into journalism.
I have to say that you're one of the most proactive people that I know, like the outside of myself as well, where we go to uni to study something, but then I remember always coming to the green room. I don't even know what that space is called because I didn't do but
The tank.
and so I wanted to ask you about your experience, like taking the initiative to be a journalist while you're studying journalism and how you feel like being a black woman has influenced that journey.
Yeah, so I feel like with journalism, it's really not enough to just study it. Like you actually have to enjoy it. And I feel like when you do enjoy it, like you won't limit yourself to just studying it. Like there's always a story within everything. And it's like when you speak to people, you realize like everyone kind of has their story. And I think with journalism, like the industry, obviously, like it's like the percentage of like women, black women in the industry is very low. So it reflects on the stories we see every day, kind of thing. And so I just made sure with like the stories I told, like I was actually involved, like I could relate. Because obviously, being a black woman, there were so many stories that I couldn't relate to. So it's like I want to be that person that makes those stories um that other people can relate to, and not just like black women, just like people in general that don't feel like that connected to the media. Like I just wanted to represent those. I felt like that's important because I feel like that's what journalism is about, like just giving people voices, like giving people the platform to share their stories. So it's really important the people that don't have easy access to that, get that, and I wanted to be that person to give that to them.
It's true. I like what you said, especially because what I'm doing right now is really nerve-wracking for me because obviously I've said like this event is just for Black creators, but it's not just about us. I just wanted to showcase us specifically because we always kind of seem to go through certain adversities just because of the way systems have been set up in terms of
Yeah.
opportunities and all of that. And so hearing us be like, okay, we're going to ignore all of that and do our thing anyway. We're going to speak up for ourselves, but we're also going to speak up for everyone. I feel like that's a nurturing thing that we have, like,
Yeah, definitely.
for us to share.
Yeah, no, 100% I agree. I think it's just like embedded in us. Just it just comes natural to us.
This,
Say
this,
that again,
I
sorry.
said, you know, like the mother instinct. It's like,
It's so real.
like I don't have any kids, but
Just got to protect the people. You got to protect the people.
yeah, always. It's like how it's just empathy, I guess.
Yeah.
Affect someone else, you think of how that would affect you and what you would do in that situation.
Yeah, 100%. I feel like empathy is what kind of gives me the drive to do the stories that I do a lot of the time. Yeah, definitely it's just empathy really.
Another question that I had was in terms of balancing, obviously I know that you work for a paper, you write for a paper, but then you also do your own journalism work as well. How do you balance that?
Yeah, so this role that I've started is fairly new, so it's kind of been hard to like balance it, but I just think just I just love using my calendar now. I mark every single thing in my calendar, like because if I don't, it's too difficult. But I think like with the paper that I'm like writing for, the website that I'm writing for, obviously they have their own readership and stuff. So I might get sent stories and I think, cool, like I might see a story and I'm like, this is a good story, but I know it's not for the readership of the paper I work for. So it's just like, oh, okay, like it doesn't mean it's not a good story, it just means that I can kind of like use it for my own work. So it's like I have like stories in the back of my mind that like I know I need to work on. But yeah, I just think at the moment where I'm so new in this role, it's kind of like taken up all my time. But it's like I know I have stories in the back of my mind that I need to just be more proactive in and chase them as well, because like I said, just because it doesn't fit the readership of where I'm working, it don't mean it's not a good story.
Yeah. Do you feel like you write for, obviously you just started with this paper and the question isn't even, I'm going to say the question and I'm going to explain it a bit. Do you feel like you write for Holly or you write for the paper in terms of the style of your writing and like the direction of it?
um I'd say I definitely write more for the paper, but it's not necessarily a bad thing because like it's taught me so much. Like I've definitely improved my writing because initially like I didn't think I would end up in print or like writing articles. Like that wasn't the plan. I have a master's in broadcast journalism. Like that was my plan. But obviously where I want to be like a news reader, presenter kind of thing, like a lot of presenters do start either in radio or print. But I just didn't think like print would be my route. But then I'm so grateful because I've learned like so much already and I've improved my skills. And I feel like with journalism, you just got to be an all-rounder. Like you can't just be good at one thing, you've got to have multiple skills. So the fact that I'm in print, like it is a blessing, and it's like I'm writing for the paper but it's benefiting me as
Yeah,
well, kind of thing. So
I
so
get it. Reminds me of like, obviously I started doing music. I sing in a rap and I've been like learning how to produce a little bit. And I know I could be a producer because I can make beats, but it's just so technical. But now that I have that knowledge and that understanding, I know how to incorporate that into when I am rapping.
exactly.
And so yeah, I like the fact that okay, throughout the live I'm looking at the points that people can take away
Yeah.
from it. And so one of the things that I've learned from you is taking that opportunity that looks like it's got nothing to do with what I want to do, but not understanding how it's gonna build me anyway for what I want to do.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, I'm really grateful for you joining.
Mm.
Have anything that you want to actually, yeah, I was gonna say, do you have anything that you want to promote? But I do want to talk a little bit about the podcast episode that you did.
Yes, yes, I'd love to talk about that.
So how did you, obviously I know it's a bit vulnerable for you because it's concerning your health, so you don't have to explain all of that in depth, but what made you want to speak about it in the way that you did?
Yeah, so it's a really long, complicated story, but I'd say, when was it? Like March 2023. I went to the hospital for a scan and they found a cyst in one side of my ovaries. And then I'm just like, okay, cool. Like, what does this mean? And they're like, oh, like, you could have endometriosis. And I'm like, huh? I was like, can I have kids?
Yeah,
Like, that's all I said. I literally looked at the woman and I was like, can I have kids? That's like, because what do you mean? Like, you're checking, like, a certain area of my body saying you found something. Like, okay, like, what does this mean kind of thing? And that was, like, surprisingly the first time I'd heard of endometriosis. Um, so yeah, I'm just there like, oh gosh, like what is this thing? God help me, like what is this? And I just went through like a complicated series of like going back and forth into the hospital, getting blood tests, getting scans, and like by God's grace, like the cyst that they found had disappeared. But when I went for that scan where they're like, yeah, the cyst has disappeared, another one has appeared on the other side, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like what is going on? Sorry. So yeah, again, like back and forth, scans, checks, whatever, and then I finally got hope and they were like, yeah, the sister's gone. I'm like, yay, like everything's fine. Until a couple months later, I got a call from the gynecologist and they're like, no, like you have a 4 centimeter cyst. It's an endometrioma. You need surgery or you need to go on medication. And I'm like, I'm like, you guys are not explaining anything to me.
that's fine.
Like, yeah, like I'm like, sorry, I've had enough. Like, I've literally had enough. Can someone just explain to me? Like, I don't want to go on medication and I don't want surgery. So can I just leave it kind of thing? And then I went to like my GP with my mum and no, after that phone call, because that's when I had to like come up with an idea for like my final project and I had no idea. So after that phone call, I was just like, oh my gosh, I've had such a mare about this journey. I had no clue what endometriosis was a year ago, and now a year later they're telling me what it is. Like, there's definitely someone else going through this. So I did a bit of research and I was like, yeah, like I'm gonna do my documentary on this because this is not good. Like, yeah, I'm suffering, but there's other people suffering and something needs to be done about this because like what do you mean kind of thing. So that's like where the idea kind of came from. And then yeah, like with my health personally, like I'm all fine. Like it's literally a miracle. Like I went to my GP and they were like you should get surgery and I'm like I don't want surgery. Me and my
Yeah,
mum were like, cool, like give us time to just think because it's been a complicated journey. Like I'm hearing one thing after another, getting this scan, getting that scan. Like I even one point, like I went to go get a scan and then like I couldn't find my like no one had my results because the gynecologist was saying no, they didn't refer me, and my GP was saying no, they didn't refer me. And I'm like, okay, so like someone has literally like done an ultrasound on me or whatever and has my results sitting somewhere and like no one knows who, like this is not good. So after my GP appointment, when my GP was like, oh yeah, you should get surgery, me and mum were like, okay, give us time to think. Just yeah, so we just like prayed and stuff. And like I said, it's like a miracle. Like I went back for a scan and they were like, yeah, no, there's nothing there. So I can only praise God. But unfortunately, like obviously there's other women going through it and I was like, no, like I need to use the little influence that I have or whatever to kind of try and make a change and raise awareness. And the woman that I spoke to, like, and everyone I spoke to be honest, like, was just so amazing. Like, I appreciate them so much. Like, the women that I spoke to, they obviously share like their stories on their platforms and stuff, which I will be sharing on like my Instagram today. And like, they're just doing such an amazing job, and they're so like strong, and like, obviously like with what they're going through, they've just not let it like stop them, and they're like being a voice for other women as well. And like, I'm so proud of them and so grateful to have met them. But that's where like the inspiration came from, and like that's where like a lot of the inspiration for my stories come from, just like people like that aren't heard or like are struggling. Yeah, I just feel like that's what it means to be a journalist. So that's that's where the inspiration came
I
from.
feel like that's what it means to be a trailblazer, because again, you kind of went through your own thing and God saved you from it, but then you thought of all those other people who might still be going through the same thing. And I had a family friend who had endometriosis, and it looked really painful.
It is the worst. It's so awful. Honestly, it's so awful. Like, the pain that I went through, like, there was even one time I ended up in like I collapsed in Westfields. Like, oh, like, I laugh about it now,
Yeah,
but oh my gosh, that day was like, I just went to meet my friend thinking, yeah, like, let me catch up with my bestie who I haven't seen in ages. And I ended up like losing consciousness, like throwing up, like passing out, being wheeled out in the middle of Westfields. Like, I was like, gosh, like, what an actual mare. Like, then taken by an ambulance to hospital. Like, the pain is, oh gosh, it's unbearable. But it's funny because even during that like incident, and like it was like when I was working on my documentary, I'm like, I need to get some sort of footage or something. Like, I'm like
yeah.
really experiencing this could be great for like the documentary. Like,
I was so bad, yeah, but it's actually true.
it's so true. I was there like, oh, because obviously my whole family like came and like they met me at the hospital, and I'm like to my sister like, oh, I need to see if I can like interview a doctor or just get like some sound, like some audio from like the medical the medical room, like a beep beep like.
Sorry. So what's that mean?
No, no, honestly, like even during my appointments, like I'm there trying to record like the scanning sound of the machine, like something, because I'm like, cool, like yeah, I'm going through this pain, but
The real
I'm still I've got work.
it,
I've got work.
it's actually the real.
Yeah.
So speaking, I'm thinking about, obviously I mentioned I make waist beads, and it's all to do with womb healing, and so endometriosis is one of those things that I've had to look at what it is and why it is, and maybe I still don't really understand. But in terms of I haven't been to the GP in years. I'm not an NHS girl at all. I'm a alkaline medicine herb. That, so when it comes to things like that, I feel like in periods of mad unhealthy eating, I've given myself a cyst. But then
Mm.
I use herbs and fruits and different things like that to like regulate my body and get it back into balance. So, but I can't, I'm not a doctor. So I
Yeah.
can't, this is actually going to work for you, but it definitely does help.
Yeah. I feel like women's health is like so complicated, and I think as well, like, even when I was producing the documentary and I was asking women, like, do you know what endometriosis is? I think because we just associate it with bad period pains, and bad period pains are normalized, we just think, oh, cool, like, we'll just go through it. I think with me, it was a thing where I was just like, okay, like, I was like, my periods weren't like regular, and I was just like, okay, cool, like, sort of what is going on kind of thing. Like, I tried exercising, I became a real gym girl, like tried changing my diet, and I was just like, oh, like I can't be arsed, like what is going on. So I think, yeah, I think with like periods and things like that, because that is like kind of like the main symptom, like period pains, and we're just like from young we're like, yeah, like periods hurt kind of
Yeah.
thing. It's just like there could be so many women walking around with these kind of
And,
conditions and they don't even know it. Like they don't even know it.
but yeah. Thank you so much for coming on and joining me. This was
Thanks for having me.
let them know where they can find you, where they can find your work, and all of that lovely stuff.
Yeah, so on Spotify, it's called the Womb's Hidden Pain. Yeah, so if you just search up Holly Daniels documentaries or the Womb's Hidden Pain, you'll find it on Spotify. It's also on SoundCloud, and you'll also find For Seeing Me, which is the documentary I did that Ebony, the lovely Ebony,
Yeah.
contributed
I
to.
remember that, but I never forget that we had to do it twice.
That was so funny. And I was like, at the end of it, I was like, yeah, that was so good. And I pressed the button and it was like record, and I was like, sorry. Like, sorry.
Oh,
What a mare. But no, I love that piece of work. It's like my baby. Like, both pieces of work are my babies, to be honest with us. Like, because it's the first documentary, it's like, that's my baby. And
yeah,
I'm so proud of that work, like winning the award and everything.
you
Like,
should,
so,
honestly.
yeah.
I'm doing all the amazing work that we're doing.
Thank you.
Working with you in the future and just seeing all of the stuff that you are up to.
I appreciate it. And you, like, I'm so proud of you. Like, you're just doing the most, like, amazing work ever. Like, you're just on job. Like, you're on job.
Sweet. But yes, I'm going to move on to the next section of the event. So we'll say bye to Holly for now and see you in the replay.